Aloha family. It's 11:44 on May the 1st, starting a new month, a new numerical sequence of binary code, I like to call it. And so I'm here in Lafayette, Louisiana, and the weather's really beautiful today. And I've been feeling the pull to do a little bit of reading. I have picked up this book again. Ricardo, thank you again so much for sending me this book. Um, and so there's some wind today. I got wind chimes going out here and two main highways on either side. So we're going to do a little, just run with it and see how it sounds. And yeah, so one of the things in my mind that, or in my being, in my consciousness, in my state of awareness, is that I look at the outside world as a tool of empowerment to see how to shift my own energy and how I want to engage, and that means other people. And I believe in the power of mindfulness and my ability to channel that mindfulness. We can be aware all day long, but if we're not mindful of the awareness, then there's still a disconnect. And I picked up this book again and read the fourth agreement. And then this morning I read the chapter after the fourth agreement, which is about breaking old agreements. This book is very powerful. It very simply illustrates in words how to let go of the programming and become the master of self energy. And so I'd like to read this part to you because it's very empowering. As I was reading it this morning, it was like, wow, yeah, like this is like really great. It's not very hard. We're very simple as humans, very simple. And it just takes stepping outside of the programming, the box that we have been put in from when we were children, to recognize that we've been operating on programming that we didn't necessarily choose ourselves. Even if we don't realize it, the fact that we have religion alone in our society, we are enthralled in that programming, whether we like it or not. So it's up to us how we choose to engage within it all, within politics and religion and the food we eat and how we make love to other people and just all these different things. Like, it's all programmed. It's, based on our past experiences. And if we're constantly living in the past, then that means that the mindfulness of awareness of the present moment is not fully present. That's the way I see it in myself anyway. Yes, we live in the past because we are aware of what's happened to us. We are not aware of what's coming in. And so really it's just about in the present moment. That's how we shift the wheel of magic. That is how we become the wizard of energy. And it's just stepping outside of ourselves and stop taking things so personally. Other people, ourselves, and things, and money, and jobs, and all this stuff. Like, yes, it's part of our society, but we get to choose. We get to make a choice. That is the freedom that we have as humans in this society, in this planet, where sometimes we're stuck. I mean, I feel stuck here sometimes. And at the same time, I realize that this is part of my experience. I chose to come here. So it's a balance. It's a balance of being human and being really cosmic, honestly. So, breaking old agreements. Everyone talks about freedom. All around the world, different people, different races, different countries are fighting for freedom. But what is freedom? In America, we speak of living in a free country, but are we really free? Are we free to be who we really are? The answer is no, we are not free. The freedom has to do with the human spirit. It is the freedom to be who we really are. Who stops us from being free? We blame the government, we blame the weather, we blame our parents, we blame religion, we blame God. Who really stops us from being free? Sometimes we get married and say that we lose our freedom, and then we get divorced and we are still not free. What stops us? Why can't we be ourselves? We have memories of long ago when we used to be free and loved being free, but we have forgotten what freedom really means. If we see a child who is 2 or 3, perhaps 4 years old, we find a free human. Why is this human free? because this human does whatever he or she wants to do. The human is completely wild, just like a flower or a tree or an animal that has not been domesticated, wild. And if we observe humans who are 2 years old, we find that most of the time, these humans have a big smile on their face and they're having fun. They're exploring the world. They are not afraid to play. They are afraid when they are hurt, when they are hungry, when some of their needs are not met, but they don't worry about the past, don't care about the future, and only live in the present moment. Very young children are not afraid to express what they feel. They are so loving that if they perceive love, they melt into love. They are not afraid to love at all. This is the description of a normal human being. A child, as children, we are not afraid of the future or ashamed of the past. Our normal human tendency is to enjoy life, to play, to explore, to be happy, and to love. But what has happened with the adult human? Why are we so different? Why are we not wild? From the point of view of the victim, we could say that something sad happened to us. And from the point of view of the warrior, we can say that what happened to us is normal. What has happened is that we have the book of law, the big judge and the victim who rule our lives. We are no longer free because the judge, the victim, and the belief system don't allow us to be who we really are. Once our minds have been programmed with all that garbage, we are no longer happy. This chain of training from human to human, from generation to generation, is perfectly normal in human society. You don't need to blame your parents for teaching you to be like them. They did the best they could. And if they abused you, it was due to their own domestication, their own fears, their own beliefs. They had no control over the programming they received, so they couldn't have behaved any differently. There is no need to blame your parents or anyone who abused you in your life, including yourself. But it is time to stop the abuse. It is time to free yourself of the tyranny of the judge by changing the foundation of your agreements. It is time to be free from the role of the victim. The real you is still a little child who never grew up. Sometimes that little child comes out when you have fun playing, or you feel happy when you are painting or writing poetry or playing the piano or expressing yourself in some way. These are the happiest moments of your life, when the real you comes out, when you don't care about the past and you don't worry about the future. You are childlike. But there is something that changes all that, and we call them responsibilities. The judge says, wait a second, you are responsible. You have to do these things. You have to work. You have to go to school. You have to earn a living. All these responsibilities come to mind. Our face changes and becomes serious again. If you watch children when they are playing adults, you will see their little faces change. Let's pretend I'm a lawyer, and right away their faces change. The adult face takes over. We go to court, and that is the face we see, and that is where we are. We are still children, but we have lost our freedom. The freedom we are looking for is the freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves. But if we look at our lives, we will see that most of the time we do things just to please others, just to be accepted by others, rather than living our lives to please ourselves. This is what has happened to our freedom. And we see in our society, and all the societies around the world, that for every 1,000 people, 999 are completely domesticated. The worst part is that most of us are not even aware that we are not free. There is something inside that whispers to us that we are not free, but we do not understand what it is and why we are not free. The problem with most people is that they live their lives and never discover that the judge and the victim rule their mind. Therefore, they don't have a chance to be free. The first step toward personal freedom is awareness. We need to be aware that we are not free in order to be free. We need to be aware of what the problem is in order to solve the problem. Awareness is always the first step, because if you are not aware, there is nothing you can change. If you are not aware that your mind is full of wounds and emotional poison, you cannot begin to clean and heal the wounds, and you will continue to suffer. There is no reason to suffer. With awareness, you can rebel and say, this is enough. You can look for a way to heal and transform your personal dream. The dream of the planet is just a dream. It's not even real. If you go into the dream and start challenging your beliefs, you will find that most of the beliefs that guided you into the wounded mind are not even true. You will find that you suffered all those years of drama for nothing. Why? Because of the belief system that was put inside of your head is based on lies. This is why it is important for you to master your own dream. This is why the Toltecs become dream masters. Your life is the manifestation of your dream. It is an art. You can change your life anytime if you aren't enjoying the dream. Dream masters create a masterpiece of life. They control the dream by making choices. Everything has consequences, and a dream master is aware of those consequences. To be Toltec is a way of life. It is the way of life where there are no leaders and no followers, where you have your own truth and live your own truth. A Toltec becomes wise, becomes wild, and becomes free again. There are 3 masteries that lead people to become Toltecs. First is the mastery of awareness. This is to be aware of who we really are with all the possibilities. The second is the master of transformation. How to change, how to become free of domestication. The third is the mastery of intent. Intent from the Toltec point of view is that part of life that makes transformation of energy possible. It is the one living being that seamlessly encompasses all energy, or what we call God. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. The mastery of intent is therefore the mastery of love. When we talk about the Toltec path to freedom, we find that they have an entire map for breaking free of domestication. They compare the judge, the victim, the belief system to a parasite that invades the human mind. For the Toltec point of view, the humans who are domesticated are sick. They are sick because there is a parasite that controls the mind and controls the brain. The food for the parasite is the negative emotions that come from fear. If we look at the description of a parasite, we find that a parasite is a living being who lives off of other living beings, sucking their energy without useful contribution in return and hurting their host little by little. The judge, the victim, and the belief system fit this description very well. Together, they comprise a living being made of psychic or emotional energy, and that energy is alive. Of course, it is not material energy, but neither are emotions material energy. Our dreams are not material energy either, but we know they exist. One function of the brain is to transform material energy into emotional energy. Our brain is the factor of emotions. And we have said that the main function of the mind is to dream. The Toltecs believe that the parasite, the judge, the victim, and the belief system has control of your mind. It controls your personal dream. The parasite dreams through your mind and lives its life through your body. It survives on the emotions that come from fear and thrives on drama and suffering. The freedom we seek is to use our own mind and body, to live our own life instead of the life of the belief system. When we discover that the mind is controlled by the judge and the victim and the real us is in the corner, we have just 2 choices. One choice is to keep living the way we are, to surrender to the judge and the victim, to keep living in the dream of the planet. The second choice is to do what we do as children when parents try to domesticate us. We rebel and say no. We declare a war against the parasite, a war against the judge and the victim, a war for our independence, a war for our right to use our own mind and our own brain. This is why in all the shamanic traditions in America, from Canada to Argentina, people call themselves warriors because they are in a war against the parasite in the mind. This is the real meaning of the warrior. The warrior is one who rebels against the invasion of the parasite. The warrior rebels and declares a war, but to be a warrior doesn't mean we always win in the war. We may win or we may lose, but we always do our best, and at least we have a chance to be free again. Choosing this path gives us, at the very least, the dignity of rebellion and ensures that we will not be the helpless victim of our own whimsical emotions or the poisonous emotions of others. Even if we succumb to the enemy, the parasite, we will not be among those victims who would not fight back. At best, being a warrior gives us an opportunity to transcend the dream of the planet and to change our own dream to a dream that we call heaven. Just like hell, heaven is a place that exists within our mind. It is a place of joy, a place where we are happy, where we are free to love and be who we really are. We can reach heaven while we are alive. We don't have to wait until we die. God is always present, and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first, we need to have the eyes and the ears to see and hear that truth. We need to be free of the parasite. The parasite can be compared to a monster with 1,000 heads. Every head of the parasite is one of the fears that we have. If we want to be free, we have to destroy the parasite. One solution is to attack the parasite head by head, which means we face each of our fears one by one. This is a slow process, but it works. Every time we face one of the fears, we are a little more free. A second approach is to stop feeding the parasite. If we don't give the parasite any food, we kill the parasite by starvation. To do this, we have to gain control of our emotions, and we have to refrain from fooling the emotions that come from fear. This is easy to say, but it is very difficult to do. It is difficult because the judge and the victim control our mind. A third solution is called the initiation of the dead. The initiation of the dead is found in many traditions and esoteric schools around the world. We find it in Egypt, India, Greece, and America. This is a symbolic death which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. When we die, symbolically, the parasite has to die. This is faster than the first two solutions, but it is even more difficult to do. We need a great deal of courage to face the angel of death. We need to be very strong. And so I'll stop at that point in this chapter. And I think that that really just sums up the entire book. It's really about mindfulness. It's about recognizing when something doesn't feel good in the gut and that solar plexus that then initiates the thought processes to swirl off when we're not in the center point listening. That's a time to pause and take a look versus continuing to feed that parasite of the swirling fear, the swirling thought. And I say this out loud to you and to myself because I've really been going through major transformations over the last year, especially. I was calling it an entity, a parasite, whatever, but something definitely attached to me, what I felt like kind of out of the blue. And so I realized that while it may seem like it's outside of me, like there's something else causing it to happen, it's me, it's within me. Therefore, it is my mind, my train of thought. And so I've really done a lot of letting go, surrendering while not paying attention to the voice that tells me I'm not good enough, the voice that tells me I'm not pretty enough, or that I'm not doing the right thing, or whatever it is that makes me feel uncomfortable. I recognize that it's something in here for me to pause, whether it's to like not give it any attention at all or to rewrite the script in a way of actual intention. And so, you know, I understand that in life we get like swirled up in these situations with work and other people and our emotions, and we get so like enthralled in how we think things should be, and we have all these expectations, and then we try to put other people in that box of expectation, which is just past programming. And if it wasn't working in the past, it probably isn't going to work in the present. And so if the same thing keeps happening over and over again, we keep receiving the same outcome about something, then it's time to look at ourselves and the way that we're doing it and why. What is causing myself to continue to engage in something that is causing distortion in the grid, in the ley lines? It's really simple. It's a learned behavior that is put into practice. So there is some energy and action that we have to put in it that we can call difficult if we choose to. But really, it's just reprogramming the mind and literally the molecular structure of the body, because our chemical makeup reacts to things that we agree to. And that it's like this subconscious automatic machine that we are when we're not aware of it. And then when we're aware of it, we get to choose how to program it. So then the automatic machine of the subconscious mind is flowing much more at peace and much more in line with the path of the conscious mind. The conscious and the unconscious work together. And it's about connecting those two, which is the divine, with the human and source. If something doesn't feel good in this life, we have the choice, the right to say no. And we have the choice to say yes when something does. That is the gift of being a human, is choice. Yes, we're here in this experience. We were born into this spectrum. And so it's up to us to make the choices to make it better and stop blaming the outside world. He made me feel this way, or she made me feel this way. Well, the thing is yes, people can trigger things in us, but it's our reaction of how we choose to engage if we continue to agree to what someone else says. And even ourselves, I don't agree with a lot of the things that come into my mind. I'm not thinking it, but I hear it. And so it's all about making those connections of like, nope, that doesn't feel good. Or, oh, yes, I like that. Let's make that happen. Because the guides or channel are there. Passerbyers come through and that don't know who we are and leave thoughts that we think is ours. And we create this reality based on what someone else said. And that's not, yes, it helps, but it can also hinder. So it's just about being mindful, mindfulness of the mind. And recognizing that other people interact that way too, not just ourselves. Like everyone else has a channel. Everyone else has thoughts that they're coming into their mind that they're agreeing to or not. And some of us are aware of that and most are not. And so recognizing that most people are not aware that they have this going on in their mind allows us to be more gentle and to be more understanding and to be aware of what's going on with someone else. And then we get to choose if we want to engage in their spectrum or not. We open up our vortex to other people, and being mindful of the things that we allow into our vortex creates our reality. If you want to be happy, create a happy environment within your being and on the outside, and watch the magnetism as it comes your way. That's becoming a mystic. That's when I got to see what being a mystic was really about. It wasn't about the turmoil that I was living in. It was about the happiness that I chose to create within myself. And therefore the outside world was like, whoa, okay, here's a different vibration. And it's called quantum physics, law of attraction. It's not just about human emotion. You can look it up. Like attraction, energetic magnetism is a real thing. And so, yes, things come to us at specific times that may not feel good. And so people say, well, what about someone dying or this or that? Well, it's all part of what's going on. So it's about looking at what's going on and not like warping our own reality because of it. Choices. I make choices. You make choices. We're all making choices around each other, which affects the environment. So I like to look at it as like, what kind of influence am I on my environment? Because the energy of my vortex expands far out, just like yours does. So not only am I feeling and thinking, but people around me are, and they don't even realize that it's part of me. They're probably picking up on my thoughts as I'm picking up on theirs. So it is a collective environment. And I realized too that like everyone I've been connected to in my life, especially sexual partners, like unless those cords are removed, we're all still picking up on each other's thoughts and things like that. Like it takes time for energy and frequency to separate from each other from different vibrations. When we think in terms of energy, we understand the mastery of the wizardry of our experience in our bodies. That's been the most eye-opening thing, is understanding my own wizardry of my body. This is the mechanism in which I function in that mystic energy right here. And we take it for granted, trash it out, talk to it like it's, like not love it up. And the body is recognizing all of that. It's listening and feeding on chemicals of how to react to what we store in the mind file, the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not understand the difference of the emotions we put on it. It only files things away. It's the program. It's the database of the computer program. And so when something comes up and we think it, it's about the energy we put on it, the emotion, the feeling, which programs our bodies to react automatically, even before something happens, which is an interesting thing. So if there's a lot of swirling things that don't feel good in your life, if your body hurts and you feel sick, take a look at how you're feeding it. Take a look at how you're feeding your mind. Take a look at how you're feeding your body. Take a look at how you're feeding those around you, because we feed each other from our cups. If the cup is empty, then we're just pulling from other people. But if the cup runneth over, we're sharing the wealth. And so it's just about choice, personal choice. And I highly recommend the 4 agreements. This is really great. Again, Ricardo, thank you so much. I love you. Aloha, family. I have an energy session coming up with someone here in town, so I'm going to let you go for now. And I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out and continuing to love yourself and be the warrior of your inner strength, letting go of the victimhood and the judgments that other people and ourselves have given us. I love you to the moon.